This week on Quality Digest Live, traditionally, technical jobs have been underrepresented by women, but that's changing. Today, we talk to Emily O'Day, Commercial Services Process Manager at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence, about women in technology. Join us in 30 seconds. Welcome back to Quality Digest Live. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making news in the world of quality. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief of Quality Digest. Well, if you work in the tech field, particularly, I'd say, the hardware end of it, you know that most technical positions, and I'm talking here maybe technicians and engineers, sometimes programmers, are filled by men. But we are seeing a lot of change in this, and we talk about this a lot on this show. And we see the change as we see efforts to encourage young women to study STEM topics, science, technology, engineering, and math, and more women mentoring women as well in the tech fields. And, we've even seen movies recently about women in technical fields, mathematicians, for instance. Some of you probably saw the movie Hidden Figures. So the word is out there that technical jobs are great jobs for both men and women. And we try to do our part on this show by getting the word out as well. And as part of our partnership with the Coordinate Metrology Society, the CMS, we have had the opportunity to meet many women who work in the highly technical field of industrial metrology. This year, the CMS is highlighting women in metrology, and joining us today is one of those women, Emily O'Day, Commercial Services Process Manager at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Dirk. Thanks for having me.
Well, sure. Before we get going into this, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at Hexagon, kind of what your position is?
Well, my current position that I have right now is a Commercial Services Process Manager. But to get here, it's been quite a journey. So I initially started out as an application engineer, and then went from there to an application manager position, and now I work more internally as a commercial service process manager.
So as an applications engineer, that means you were out in the field showing people how to apply metrology equipment to particular application, particular needs? Is that what an applications engineer does?
Exactly. So an applications engineer shows the customer how to use the equipment. So I did a lot of training on hardware, software, demonstrations, how the system works, how to use it, how to solve problems that customers might have that they need to figure out how they end up measuring.
Okay, so in this case, we're talking things like, for people who are familiar with portable coordinate metrology, is that what we're talking about, like laser trackers or arms or that sort of thing?
So I specialized initially mainly software and CMMs, okay. And then I was specialized in laser trackers. It was a good portion of my career was using laser trackers for metrology, yes. Now
at Hexagon, I've seen, I know a few women at Hexagon who have been field engineers and app engineers and that sort of thing. Was your experience did you feel that you were, I said at the beginning that women were kind of underrepresented, but I know at Hexagon there's quite a few women. But in your knowledge of the field, do you feel like more women could be in this field, that is more interesting, and maybe something that they should be encouraged to look at, a technical field like metrology?
Absolutely. Without a doubt, we're definitely outnumbered. That's for sure. When I first started, I started at a smaller company, and it was pretty unusual because we were 4 application engineers and 3 of us were women. And this is 15 years ago. So it was highly unusual, but really, it doesn't matter. Gender shouldn't matter. It's what you enjoy. It's what you can teach. It's what you know. And being able to, be involved in that kind of industry is very important, and anybody can really do it.
Yeah, no. You said enjoy. Have you always enjoyed it? I mean, as a girl, a young girl, was math or science or that sort of thing something that was interesting to you?
Yes, yeah, it was always math was probably one of my stronger subjects in school. Nobody grows up saying I want to be a metrologist. No, when I came into this industry, I didn't even know what it was to be
Well, yeah.
honest. But math was definitely one of my stronger subjects. I like technical drawing, science. So that's kind of what edged me into studying for an engineering degree. And then from there, I stumbled across a application engineer job. And luckily that company took a chance on me. And that's where I am. That's how I started.
And it's interesting because now you have that experience, the field experience and so forth that you gained being an applications engineer. And does that help you now in your current position, which isn't, I'm assuming your current position isn't so much hands-on anymore. Is that true?
That's absolutely correct. So I'm more behind the scenes. So my role now is process management, I guess, for business processes. So my team and I are the internal support for the application and services team out there. So we make sure that they have the internal training that they need, make sure that they have the tools and the applications that are required so that they are successful in their jobs. We also help the managers. We are responsible for the software that we use to dispatch our technicians for order entry. So it's very important that we have a system that, allows us to, do world-class services.
Sure.
So having that background to begin with, to know what it's like to be on the field and realize, maybe I'm not the right, person, for example, that shouldn't happen because we have the tools that we have today to manage that.
And actually, you mentioned something that's interesting. There is a lot to be said about having a person in your position who has actually been out in the field and actually understands how equipment gets used in the field, how it gets used in any kind of manufacturing process and so forth, so that when you're at the position you're at now, you're speaking from a place of kind of fundamental knowledge of what it takes to use this equipment in the field. I mean, I would think that's been probably a really good boon for your current position.
Absolutely. Like I said, I have a great understanding of what it takes to go on the road, go to different companies, understanding how CMM works, how portable equipment works, and then, bring that back and interact with finance and the factory and the product management side of things. It's definitely been beneficial for sure.
So what was your educational background? So you mentioned that you were interested in, kind of mathematics when you were a young girl, and then you went to college and studied engineering. I mean, was that kind of your path?
Yeah. So yes, I studied in Ireland. So I went to the National University of Ireland in Galway, and I studied a course that was called Management Engineering with a Language. It was an interesting course for me because initially I was interested in going a business route, but I kind of had that technical side that I wanted to, figure out. And this course I found it and I was like, this is perfect. It's a combination. I studied abroad in France for a year. So I studied engineering abroad for a year before coming back to finalize the degree. So it was really a really perfect course for me, actually, a degree.
Now, one thing I'm interested in is, so you mentioned so you were born and raised in Ireland, went to school in Ireland, college in Ireland. So in the United States, as you know, there's been a big, kind of a big push for, what we call STEM education over here, science, technology, engineering, and math. And, it's in the news a lot. And, they're trying to get STEM education down at lower and lower educational levels for kids. And they are trying to make an emphasis of also making sure that women and minorities are exposed to STEM education as well. Now, do you know, is this type of push also going on in Ireland?
I definitely haven't, been there
Been there for a
in
while.
years. So it's been a while, so I haven't been through their education system. But I do know when I was going to university, granted, female engineers were outnumbered, but for sure there was a huge increase. I think in my degree, I think 40% were women at the time. So there, there's a big push. Like I said, I don't think gender should come into this. I think it's the skill sets that somebody has and their interests that should motivate them towards their career.
And what about mentoring? I mean, was that anything that affected your career as you joined the workforce? Did you have mentors, women or men for that matter, that encouraged you and helped you to grow?
Absolutely. Actually, I have to admit that I have been very, very lucky. When I initially started, like I've mentioned, I was in a smaller group of four people, and three of us were women. And those two colleagues at the time, they really mentored me to how the industry worked and how what I needed to do. And they're the really my first mentors. And after that, I've changed companies. I had a mentor that brought me into Hexagon. I had the opportunity to work with a fantastic lady called Jean Gardner, who has since retired. She on herself was an amazing woman, kind of outnumbered out there in the industry also. And currently, obviously, I have my current manager that, pushes me. So I have been really fortunate to always have somebody that mentored me, that allowed me to grow in my roles. So I've changed roles quite a bit, and I don't think that would be possible without mentorship.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, when I was before I was in this business, I was an engineer, and I had several mentors, two in particular that I think of, and I realized that probably without them, I wouldn't have grown as an engineer and reached kind of into the positions that I did if it wasn't for somebody kind of getting behind me and encouraging me and, even, teaching me things I didn't know just based on their, huge, years of skill and so forth. So I understand where that's really important. And do you have a chance yourself, or have you had a chance yourself to kind of encourage, either coworkers, women coworkers, or maybe young women who are looking maybe to who might be excited about mathematics or engineering and so forth, to kind of encourage them to go?
Yeah, so I would hope that somebody might consider me as being one of their mentors. Obviously, that's one of my goals in life.
Sure.
But yes, I do work with, and I'm hoping it's not just like for our female colleagues, but also for our male colleagues that I hope that I can show them or have shown them, what it takes to succeed, what they need to know, what will help them succeed in this industry.
I'm glad you said that. I hadn't thought about that. And I think we've made the same mistake on this show several times. We talk about, women mentoring women. Well, you're right. It shouldn't be women mentoring women. It should be women mentoring whoever needs to be mentored, whether it's another woman or a guy. If you've got knowledge to share and you have that experience out in the field, then it really shouldn't matter, should it? Who you mentor?
No, not matter.
Not at all. All right. Well, so before we leave here, if you were to give some words of wisdom to maybe a junior high or a high school girl who doesn't really know maybe what direction they want to go, but they know math is kind of fun. They kind of like math, and they like tinkering with things. They like working with their hands. What would you encourage them to do?
Well, I guess like with anything, I think you should follow your instincts. Do some research, find out what careers there are out there. Again, metrology was not in any way anything that I was looking towards. And I think doing the research, find out what is available, what you might like doing. Like I said, application engineering was something that, was really interesting to me because I got to interact with customers, teach people how to use equipment, learn how we measure something. in addition to seeing so many industries. As an application engineer, we got to see how knee joints are measured, or how cars are manufactured, or how to scan an aircraft. So we have, in the role that I was in, that I chose, I was able to see so many different industries, just by, going out there and training on this equipment. So
just going out and doing it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Emily O'Day, thanks for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us and talk about your experiences as a woman working in a tech industry.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
No problem. And that is it for today's Quality Digest Live. Thanks, Emily O'Day from Hexagon, for joining us. That was fantastic. We always like to see how women are making a show here in this industry, because if you've been to any kind of trade show, you'll see. You go into the booths and you look at who the technical people are in the booths, and except in rare occasions, like Emily said, where there were 4 app engineers and all 4 of them were women, that's pretty rare usually. And so we like to see this, and I think we're seeing more and more of it, and it's pretty exciting actually. So if you have some ideas of who or what you would like to see on the show, let us know, and send your ideas to qdl@qualitydigest.com, and we do our best to bring those people on. So thanks for joining us today, and we will see you next week. So long.